Hello and welcome to my Allomother podcast. I'm your host, Celeste Smith. This podcast is focused on educating and helping mothers navigate our fast-moving and transitory lifestyle, looking through the lens of anthropology. I am a maternal anthropologist on a mission to support mothers around the world because, let's face it, we weren't meant to do this alone. Hello everyone! I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend Charity. She was a birth assistant at my second birth, and you will not find a more thoughtful person in the world. And one thing she did was, I don't know, I guess she did it right when she got to our house, is she drew a stork. It was adorable. We kept it there as long as possible.
I remember your birth, and I've been to quite a few births. I remember you standing on your bed and jumping on your bed. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And I was just like, okay, like that's amazing. Because like you think of birth being in a certain way, but like every woman just kind of finds what works and like she's got it.
Yeah, boy. Yep, when those contractions stopped, I did not know what was going on, so I was trying to wake it
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah. It's like, come on. But your birth was pretty fast.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was.
feel like you are just the perfect person. You're right there with Michael, and your presence is so calming. Like it just made it perfect. I
Oh,
was
thank
just
you. I appreciate
forever,
that.
yeah, forever grateful. So yeah, this is so wonderful. Well, I'd love to just now you know about my motherhood story. So I'd love to have you share about that first baby you had and just your motherhood journey.
Yeah, so my oldest is 11. She's going to be 12 this year, which freaks me
Wow.
out. And she's constantly like, I'm going to be a teenager next year. And I'm like, ah, that's just
Wow.
insane. Um, so actually, my first pregnancy, I had an ectopic pregnancy. So I didn't, I was on just the birth control pill because I thought that's what everyone did when they weren't wanting to have kids. And then I got off of it. And, they always say that you can have irregular like spotting and bleeding. So I assumed that I was like having a period. But
Oh,
then I had all this like pain and I ended up in the emergency room. And so I didn't even know I was pregnant. I found out in the emergency room and had to have like emergency surgery, which was pretty traumatic. And, the doctor's like, you might not be able to conceive naturally because like one of my tubes had to be taken. And they're like, some women, just all these like scary things that you
wow.
don't want to hear when you're like young and planning on starting your family. Thankfully, we didn't have any issues conceiving at all. And we were able to like pretty quickly conceive my daughter. But from that experience and like the traumatic experience of just being at the hospital with that happening, that's kind of what made me decide to have home births
Wow.
with my kids. But yeah, so like my pregnancy went well. Um, I had a home birth with all three of my kids. I was kind of like the first person that any of my like friends or family or coworkers knew of to have a home birth. So there was a lot of
Wow.
just fear from them, like around that's not safe. And then my mom had 5 C-sections. So she's just like, you need to have C-sections. Um, and she had a lot of fear around my birth. So I actually, with all three of my births, I never told her when I was in labor because I just didn't want this emotion of fear to be
Yeah.
like surrounding that, even though like I knew she wouldn't be there. Um, but yeah, like I just felt, oh, I, I'm not very close with my mom. She lived close to us. When I had my daughter, she probably lived 15 minutes from us. Um, but I didn't feel, I don't know, comfort. I don't know if comfortable is the right word. Um, but it just didn't feel natural for either one of us, for her to support me and for me to like reach out to her to be supported. So I kind of had a lot of unmet expectations. Like, I guess I thought,
Yeah.
oh, she'll like help provide meals, or she'll like watch my daughter, because at the time with my oldest, my husband and I both worked. And I was like, maybe she can watch my daughter part time. Um, and there just like wasn't a lot of support from her. Um, and then I also just had this feeling of I need to prove myself as like a woman and a mother, and I just need to prove that motherhood comes naturally to, I don't know, that it's just like what I was made to do. But honestly, becoming a mother was pretty difficult. Like, I think because, especially just growing up in our church, in our faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you're kind of just told like, oh, you get married and you have children and they just bring you all this joy, and family brings you all this joy. And then like growing up, family didn't really bring me a lot of
Oh,
joy.
interesting. Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, so I then felt really guilty and felt like, oh, I'm supposed to just have all of these like amazing feelings and I'm supposed to feel fulfilled, but I don't know. I did not. Like, it was a challenge. I think I realized how selfless mothers and women have to be, and I want to be a selfish person. I want to do what I want to do. And so it was
Oh,
hard to go from living this life where you do just do whatever you want to do, within means. Like, I ate what I wanted to eat. I slept. That was amazing. I used to do that.
yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, so it was challenging. And we thought like maybe we're just one and done. Like,
Wow.
Elsie was, since I worked full time, we had a neighbor, thankfully, that lived across the street that watched her. So that was really nice. And like my job was really flexible. So it wasn't like a typical like 9 to 5. Like, I was able to
Oh,
drop in and see her quite often, and the hours were pretty nice, which was good. But when I would come home, she would just cry all the time. And my babysitter was like, oh, she never cries. And so then I was like, she hates me.
oh,
How do you know? Like, they say, oh, but you're their safe person. So they show their like hard, like big emotions with you. And I'm like, but I just want her to be happy with me. Like, because to me, it's hard not to take that personally as like,
right.
oh, you hate me. You're just crying with me. So we thought like, oh, maybe one and done. And then eventually we were like, okay, I think we'll try to have another child. Um, and so we did. We had Holden um, sooner than we thought that we would. Um, but so he is going to be turning 9 in August. And then, so Holden, he had some like language delays, and now like I homeschool, he's definitely has some like learning challenges.
Uh-huh.
So we were like, okay, we're done. And then, I mean, you've seen my family picture. We were not done.
No, you weren't.
Well, and I was like, I had a dream that I had a baby girl, and my son talks about this all the time. He'll tell people, he's like, Piper's my mom's dream that came true. She dreamed. And I'm like, well, you're all my dreams that came true. But I did. I had this dream that I had a baby girl, and I like it was so vivid, and I knew it wasn't just like an ordinary dream. And I like spoke to my husband, and I was like, maybe like I think we might have like a daughter that, and then we had like a really bad day, and I was like, I was just kidding. And then we
So
got
funny.
pregnant anyways, despite, all the things that you do to not get pregnant.
Yeah.
And had a little girl, but I had a lot of like hard feelings. Like, felt pretty bitter, and then you feel guilty that you feel bitter, just the
Yeah.
cycle of like, I'm a terrible mother. But like I cried a lot just around the thought of being pregnant, um, and and just feeling like the overwhelm. And we had recently moved back to Virginia.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know people. Like I had the same midwife with my first two.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so just like that whole dynamic of having to find a whole new birth team was overwhelming. And like, who's going to watch my kids? Like we, I like, so my grandmother and my aunt, who I love and adore, um, and they're great allomothers to me. Um, they live pretty close, like within 30 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Like my aunt works full time, and I'm like, I just felt bad, even though I knew she would come and like watch them. I feel bad asking people for help. And so I ended up like hiring so I hired two birth doulas, and one was just to like support my kids, and the
Oh,
other
nice.
me, because I didn't feel like I knew anyone else well enough to like I'm imposing on you, which just sounds so ridiculous. Because if it was anyone else, I'm like, no, that's not an imposition. Like, what an honor.
Oh,
But for
yes.
me, it just feels like I can't. That's like too much. So, yeah, I don't know. That was a lot of talking. Did I go too far?
Oh, no. There is a lot to unpack there, but I loved it. I
Yes.
loved it all. No, yeah, I want to go back just a little bit to the emotions that come when you're a first time mom. It's like you really need support, but it's hard to when it's hard to ask the person that should be that first, what is it? I mean, the first line of Ella Mother. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um, when someone runs into that, it can be really tricky to think
Hmm.
like, well, then what? And so I feel like every layer, do you feel like every layer that you get farther away from family, is it, except that you did hire someone on their birth team to watch the kids, is it harder to ask family for you, or is it harder to ask someone you don't quite know as much for
I
with
think
your
it's
kids?
harder for me to ask my family, honestly, which just sounds so ridiculous. Like, um, yeah, I don't know why I struggle to ask my family for support. Like with my aunt and my grandmother here, like I do not. They're like, I'm like, you need to stop supporting people. You need to take care of
Oh,
yourself. Like I'm always like, my aunt is just always doing everything all the time. I'm like, you need to like take a break and breathe. Like, when are you going to take a vacation or like sit down? Like, when we typically go over there every Sunday to see them. They live on this beautiful farm and have cows. And
wow.
my kids love to go there. And my aunt, the whole time, is just like catering to them so beautifully. And she doesn't have any children. Um, but that's kind of what I envisioned, like my mom doing, like, like, because I think like most mothers, like when I got married, they were like, oh, I want grandchildren. And then
Yeah.
when grandchildren came, I was just like, well, where's the support? And so I think I wanted her to offer it, and I didn't want to
Yeah.
ask. And then like sometimes when I would ask, she'd either be like, I'm too busy, or like I'd have to like pay her to watch my kids. And I'm like, I'll just pay someone that lives closer to me to watch, I don't know, to watch my kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know, the transactionalism of like someone that I don't know feels better to me for whatever reason.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. And I love how your aunt is, even though she doesn't have children, some people just really get it. They just really
Yeah.
naturally want to give of their time and their love. And I love those allo mothers that yeah, that give to children when they don't have their own. I think that's just a really
Yeah.
special relationship there.
Well, and I remember like because we grew up close to them,
Oh,
like
yeah.
she would like I remember going and spending the night at her house. And when I was younger, she always took us to all the new movies in the movie theaters, and she does that with my kids.
Oh my goodness.
So she'll be like, "Oh, there's a new movie that's coming out. Like, are you okay with your kids seeing it? Like, I'd love to take them." And she always, she takes them out and she like get some popcorn and candy, and then the Target's really close, so then often they'll go to Target and she'll like spoil them.
Oh,
And so I think that's what I envision for my mother, and I'm grateful that my aunt is like able to do that. And I'm like, you don't have to spend, and it's not even about like money, but just, when we go on Sundays and she's like, oh, I have like your favorite snacks, or oh, do you
oh,
want to go feed the cows? Or, just the time investment and like I want to be there and I want to be present. Because then, like, for my mother, it feels more like that we're like a burden when I'm
yeah.
constantly like reaching out, but she's just like there. My aunt is just like there,
Wow.
always trying to give she's a beautiful woman.
Wow, that is so amazing. I think it gives hope that when you don't feel support, even if it's like your husband is busy or if it's your own mom or like whoever is around you, if you don't immediately have it from the people you expect to at least have some help. Like when
Yeah.
that doesn't happen, like there really is hope. And we've like moved so much that I feel like I've learned how to quickly more quickly when I moved something
Yeah.
new, like how do I find friends? How do I find breaks? How do I find and it like it's it's just interesting how it does take time, but yeah, I just there is hope there. Like there really is someone that can be like your aunt. And so you can, but it takes time. Like you can sit in that sadness, like why isn't it coming from who I thought would be there?
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like it's totally okay to feel that and to want support and but there is hope and like there are really are people that you can find to
Yeah.
fill
Well,
that
and then it's
void.
just interesting, like as a mother, I spend a lot of my time because like it's not like my mom was a bad mom. Like I don't want to like say that she was a bad mother, but for whatever reason, like what I needed from her, she was not able to give me. And I spend a lot of my time um thinking like how can I make sure that I have like a close family unit. And that's one of the main
Oh,
reasons that we like chose to homeschool, is
interesting.
because like I have a brother that lives in Virginia, like 10 minutes from me, and I've seen him like 4 times since I moved to Virginia. And so I'm like I don't know. And sometimes I'm like, maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe these like beautiful families that I know they do, because I have friends, that they're like, oh, I'm talking to my sister. Or, like they like talk to their family all the time. But I'm like, how can I make sure that we have that and that it like continues? And like, how can and I'm already like, because my mom, when I left, she had a hard time like letting go of me, which was really,
Oh,
which was
yeah.
funny. She like wanted to still control my life, and that caused a lot of, when you're a young adult and you're trying to like make your own decisions. Um, but I'm already like, oh, I know I'm gonna have a hard time letting go of my kids. Like, I'm like, just live here forever. But that's not the purpose, like you want them to like grow and become themselves. And um, but yeah, so I spend a lot of my time thinking like, how can I do it differently? Like trying to make this just, yeah, so we can just be close forever.
Yeah, close neighbors, I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
Forever close. No, I love that. I love that from what you learned growing up and then becoming a mother, how you kind of will have a good gauge of well, you're just really intentionally building that relationship with your
Yeah.
kids. I see it. And with homeschooling, you need to be tight knit or else, I mean, academics don't really matter. So,
Yeah. Yes.
so yeah, how have you kind of, I mean, because yeah, you are a mother, you're in the trenches right now. So what are you doing to foster those relationships with okay, maybe especially your daughters? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yesterday was a good example of like what not to do is I came home. I was like gone all day. I had like
Oh yeah.
all these back-to-back appointments and I came home and my oldest daughter um did school, but my husband had the day off work because he was out of
Oh.
town. So he had the day off work. So I'm like, he's going to help you with school. She doesn't
Uh-huh.
like daddy. She's like, he doesn't do it right. I'm like, I don't know what that means. It's fifth grade math. He knows what to do.
Yeah.
But I came home and like the two younger kids like came out to the van and like hugged me and I like hugged them and I like said hi to Elsie. And then I came inside and I like sat at the computer to like send something. And I was like, oh, is this your schoolwork? Like on the computer, there's a Google
Mhm.
Doc open that she had to write this little short story. And she was like, yeah, but I don't want to finish it right now. And then I was like, no, you need to finish it. And then she got really like, there was just back and forth, like, let's go ahead and finish it now. Let's just do it. I'll help you. I'm here.
Yeah.
And then she like ran off and then I went upstairs and she was like, you didn't even say hi to me. Like she came into my room later and she's like, you didn't even say hi to me. And I was like, oh, I thought that I did, like I thought that I said hi to you, that you were out there and my like hi to the other children counted
Oh.
as a hi to
Mhm.
you. And then like sometimes as like kids get older, um, you like want to give them more space, but then also they still need that same connection. Cause sometimes it's like,
Oh,
oh, you get this like as a parent, there's this kind of freedom that comes from kids getting a little older,
right. Yeah.
but they still need that like individual, like one-on-one time. So like every night with all of my kids, like even my daughter that's 11, I still read to each of them before bed.
Oh,
Um, and I just try to like just intentionally have moments with them throughout the day. And definitely like knowing what they need. Like Elsie's like, I need to have conversation with you, which can be
yeah.
really exhausting
Yeah.
sometimes. And it's like hard to just, when I'm like, oh, people are talking to me all day, but she needs just that like connection through conversation. And then like my son is like such a cuddle bug. And so he just wants to like cuddle and kiss and snuggle. And I'm like, he's just the sweetest.
Oh,
Um, and then I'm like trying to think how Piper is. She's still very much like the play with me, like I want you to play with me.
yeah.
So just trying to like give them that um every day. And then it is hard with like school where there's finding that expectation of like finishing school stuff before, I don't know. And then, but oh, they're getting along really well. Like we're having fun and like playing. So this is more important
Yeah.
than, but then, that's like inconsistent. So then kids are like, but yesterday you let us just play. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't just always let you just play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I feel like, yeah, as kids grow, you think you've figured it out. And yeah, I can tell I'm reading the five languages, the five love languages of children right now. And it's
Yeah.
been very, very awesome. So I can tell you kind of know your children's primary needs, like their
Hmm.
emotional needs. And it's like you figured it out, but as they grow, it does kind of change, but it also kind of doesn't. So you still
Yeah.
like have to have those connections, but yeah, that is so amazing.
Do you feel like your oldest needs more like individual time with you? Like I feel like Elsie is more like needy towards me than
Oh,
even like my 5-year-old as far as like attention. I don't know. Do you feel that?
Let's see. I feel like yeah, she really it's the daily thing is definitely like reading. Yeah, you said reading out loud. Reading out loud, but also just pillow talk. It's very
Mm-hmm.
important and it's very long. And
Yeah.
but it just means the world to her that I'm laying there, even if it's dark, but I'm listening and right
Yeah.
there with the full attention. And yeah, something that's really important is our tradition in our family is we have a solo, like mom and dad's solo date on their birthday
Oh,
and
nice.
also their half birthday, I mean month, half birthday
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
We have
Mm-hmm.
those solo because we try and do dates, every month or every week, but it changes, but I can tell that for her, especially, but for Daniel too, but especially for her, like that we are taking time to plan something for her, like that
Mm-hmm.
just overflows her bucket. I mean, it just
Yeah.
that very much fills
Yeah.
her emotional cup. Yeah.
Yeah, like Holden and Piper, my youngest two, they can like entertain themselves and they're good
Oh,
together. But it's like Elsie needs like that direct attention
oh,
from me more than they do for whatever reason. And
yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. That yeah, it's every child is so different, and you just do your best,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
everything there.
But then like you said, you figure it out and then it changes. Not really, but enough that you have to think something.
Yeah, you gotta switch around.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of times like when there's like a drastic change, some of it's like lazy parenting on my part, but I'm just like, it's gonna be over in like 2 weeks. I'm not even gonna stress about it anymore. Like
Yeah.
because you like you stress and you like work through this like solution or and now I'm gonna try this and
Oh,
then all of a sudden it's like oh yeah, remember 3 weeks ago when she was doing this, she's not doing that anymore.
yeah. No, totally. Yeah, it's always changing. So, how do you, I mean, I feel like you're a doula for other families, which that schedule is just, and I'm not exactly sure how you do it, but I know you're passionate about it. So,
Yeah.
you're a doula, but also you have your home, like you're not just a mom, you're a homeschool mom. So,
Yeah.
I guess who are your allo mothers for you when your schedule is so hit and miss with births
Yeah.
and stuff?
Well, thankfully my husband works from home, so that makes my
Oh,
life. I don't think that I could do that if he travels like occasionally.
okay.
And then I do have some like pretty good friends that I know that if something comes up, like I've had instances where I've been like called to birth and he's gone, and I
Oh,
have friends that I can take them over to. And thankfully, like if it's during the day, Elsie's old enough that she can, stay with them for
oh,
like a little bit of time, like not overnight, obviously.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, in that instance, like my aunt comes and stays with them, which is really nice.
Oh, okay.
But really, it is like if Neil didn't work from home, it would not be possible. Sometimes I even think homeschooling wouldn't be possible.
Oh, yeah.
Like just having like that other body and support with me. Like obviously he's usually in his office, but he comes in throughout the day and like checks in on
Wow.
everyone and we have lunch together. So he's talked about, oh, like I could make more money if I change jobs. For whatever reason, we live in a society where like loyalty isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's like constantly like, oh, if I find a new job, oh, and then a year later, if you find a new job, you get these big salary increases. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, unless you made enough money that I could get like a nanny, which just sounds ridiculous, but to get someone that would stay and support
Yeah.
me, I don't think like it wouldn't be worth it. Like,
Yeah.
I need him, but he's like my best friend and I love like hanging out with other women, but if it's like between other women and my husband, I will pick my husband.
That's awesome.
I just love him. So,
Yeah.
um, that is really like what makes it possible is him being home. And like in the beginning of my doula like practice, especially,
Oh yeah.
I had a really hard time being like, I'm full, like I'm not taking any clients because,
Oh.
you want to get like your business going and you're just like really excited. And then I got to the point, it was actually right before we moved. Um, I remember it was like the October before we moved in December. I had
Mhm.
5 births that month.
Wow.
And then I was like thinking, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. Like,
That is a
because
lot.
it's like you're not getting good sleep. And like my kids were younger, like like when we moved, my Elsie was just in her kindergarten year. So it
Oh,
was
wow.
school was different. Like, if you miss like a couple weeks when you're homeschooling a kindergartner, it's fine. But I'm
Yeah.
like, next year she's 6th grade. And I'm like, that's like middle school. Well, not out west, but on the East Coast, 6th grade
Oh,
is middle school.
wow. Yeah.
Um, and so I'm like, we have to, you can't just, miss for weeks and weeks at a time when they get older.
Yeah.
So I like now I only take like max 2 clients a month. And I
Okay.
took most of the summer off because I was on call for like 2 years before that. And I was just like, I can't because with homeschool you get a lot of freedom, but then when you're on call, you don't have any freedom.
Oh,
I'm like,
right.
why am I even homeschooling? There's no free like that's not obviously the only reason I'm homeschooling. I'm like,
Yeah.
all the freedom was gone because I couldn't like, let's just go to the beach. Nope, we can't because I'm on call, or let's go visit like mom, papa. My husband's parents live about 2.5 hours away. And I'm like, oh, we
Oh,
can't. I'm on call. So it's been very nice the last, like over the summer, where I've only had one birth
oh,
and I
that's
don't go
sweet.
on call again until the end of August. So now I feel like the passion again. And I'm like, because I've kind of thought in the past about going back to school to becoming a home birth
Oh,
midwife and like trying to figure that out.
wow.
But I don't think it's in the cards, right, for my current stage of life.
Yeah.
But one day I think I will.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, I'm so excited for you when that time comes. I know it'll
Yes.
come. That magical phase when you're ready. Oh, that's exciting. I love how you kind of said that you like had the fire but you needed a break and then now you're feeling that passion again. So I feel like you
Mhm.
kind of I feel like that's so motherhood. Like sometimes I feel like I have to be on 100% all the time to do all the stuff. And I kind of feel like I try to as as homeschool mom, I just like I love to do all the fun things all the time.
Um,
I do get burned out sometimes, but then the next day I try to do it again. I just
yeah.
love being out. But how do you I just love that topic of you don't have to be full blast all the time.
Yeah.
Like in social media, you might see the full, you think
Yeah.
it's full blast, but like what it really is.
Yeah. Like I went through this period of time, from not to quote Harry Potter, but also to quote Harry, where he's like, I thought I'd never be cheerful again after he
Oh,
met the like Dementor, like in the train. He's like, I thought I
yeah.
would never be cheerful again. Like I said that, this was also kind of around COVID, where I think we were all just like in a trauma haze anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but like I also kind of enjoyed COVID and like the lack of the expectation to do all the things because we were
Yeah.
all just home. Like I'm very introverted, so I'm like if I could just be home, like that's like my dream. Like when people are like, "What did you do over the weekend?" and I'm like, "Hopefully nothing." Like hopefully like I went on a hike with my family, I went to the pool and then was at home. Like
Yeah.
that's my dream. And like I think a lot of people thought about being more mindful around their schedules when they're like, oh, it's not gonna go back.
Yes.
And I'm like looking at my schedule, like my calendar and I'm just like, it's worse than it's ever been. Like, you know, like my oldest is in like the company for dance and she dances like 10 hours a week.
Wow.
And then like my son has, you know, like speech therapy and like social groups. And then like I have like my business stuff. I'm like, oh, and we also have to do school. We school year round, mostly
Right.
because I'm not consistent enough during the school year.
Huh. With you, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think, because how old are your kids?
9 and 7.
Okay. Because I'm like, in the beginning, there was so much pressure. I put so much pressure on myself to do school, like to make school look like homeschool look like school.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and yeah, like the like fear of missing out, the FOMO of, oh no, they're not getting all of these opportunities, which I don't feel that way anymore. Like
Yeah, no, that's good.
I've like been able to like de-school myself and just be
Right.
like, look at this beautiful life that we live. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
we're just, you know, going on hikes and playing in creeks and I mean we do school as well, obviously,
Yeah.
but that's like not the most important. I've realized that that's not the most important thing. And like I have like my son who has learning like he doesn't have any like diagnoses, but I'm pretty sure he has dyslexia. Like he's still struggling to learn to read. And, you know, as like a mother, like I'm stressing out about it. Um, and then I was just like, he's 8 years old. Like when he's an adult, it won't matter if he's not reading at 8 and isn't reading well until he's 12. You know,
Right.
like
Right.
this is such a small time. And then, you know, there's like other, like very well-meaning people will be like, well, do you think that he needs to go to school? And I'm like, no.
No.
Like, no one wants him to succeed more than I do. No one will do all the things. Like, and also, he is like the most confident child. Like,
Wow.
he's like just full of confidence. And I'm like, school would just crush him.
Yeah.
Like, he has no idea that he's behind, that he's not, you know, reading at the same level that his peers are. And so I just love that he is able to just be himself. And I really am like trying to just protect their like childhood
hmm
because I like when I was younger, I just wanted to be an adult. Like I'm like, I just want to be a grown up. And you know, like I think most kids do because they just want their autonomy. But
Yeah.
then like being adult, I'm like, I just wish I didn't have to plan dinner and then
Yeah.
shop for dinner and then cook dinner and then clean dinner. It's like, have you seen that like meme that it's like, if someone told me when I was a kid that
Yeah.
being an adult was really just choosing your dinner every night for the rest of your life, like I think you would second guess that.
Yeah.
Like it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so true. No, I do. I think that is such there's like all these hidden blessings and miracles of homeschooling that they kind of roll out as they get older and you're like, whoa, I had no idea that this would be the result of just
Yeah.
homeschooling. And so I think you're completely right that because I love hearing that he's so confident. Like it doesn't bother him that he's not in
Mm-mm.
like the group of kids that can't read yet. They can't read a
Yeah.
certain book yet and I love that you're just preserving that confidence and just that slower. I mean, my daughter dreams of living on our own mini farm. She's like, there's got to be a creek and there's got to be,
Well, if you're
these
going,
things. And
yeah.
they just want that slow, wonderful life. So,
Yes. Yes. And just the like, just enjoying and like being in the now and not having all those pressures that we are constantly putting on ourselves. But yeah, like when I chose to homeschool, like, so we did Joy School for like
yeah,
Elsie's, you know, preschool like years.
nice.
Um, and then, but I was fully planning on, eventually registering her for kindergarten. And then like I realized all of her peers, they're like, "Oh, are you going to kindergarten registration?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to do that." Like
Wow.
that was like and I'm like, "What? Why?" Like growing up, I knew one homeschool family and they were weird,
Yeah.
or I thought they were weird, and I'm like, maybe they weren't weird. I was weird. And then so that was her kindergarten year is the year that we ended up moving to Virginia.
Oh,
So I was
wow.
like, oh, like maybe this is why, like I felt like
Hmm.
that God was directing me to homeschool. And but then I was kind of just like, we'll just do it like the rest of the kindergarten year. And then we're just still going.
Wow.
And I think like, well, I know that God put it in my heart to homeschool, like with my oldest, because
Yeah.
Holden needed to be homeschooled.
Wow.
Like, I know that that's why. So, and it's just like as, the world has changed, and I've just like talked to Elsie's friends who are in school, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know why there's this like drive for kids to be like mini adults.
Yeah.
Like I remember when Roe versus Wade was changed around, like, and I was in Young Women's, like I worked with the youth in
Oh,
our church.
yeah.
So I felt like I was friends with some of them on social media, and it was just interesting to see them have these very bold and strong opinions about such big things that I, as an adult, have a hard time wrapping my brain around. I'm
Whoa.
like, I'm having like a hard time figuring out my thoughts on these things.
Mm-hmm.
You are, 13, 14 years old. Like you're a
Oh,
child. Like, how are
yeah.
we expecting these children to have such strong ideals when they're still just trying to figure out life?
Wow.
So it's like, I obviously don't want my children to be ignorant, but I think that certain topics are like appropriate for certain ages.
Yes.
And I feel like that's kind of not the case as much anymore. I'm like, I didn't know anything that was going on. Like, I didn't know anything about like the wars and stuff when I was younger. Like my first real memory would be like 9/11.
Right. Yeah.
I was in like remember seventh grade French class being and when all of that happened, but that was like the real only like real like adult topic that I knew about. And I feel like it's just, yeah, kids are just expected to have all these opinions of things that adults don't even understand.
Wow. Yeah, another benefit too. I don't know, I feel like when the parents are grounded, it doesn't I don't feel like it's overprotection or anything. Like when they don't know every little thing that's going on, but I feel like with parents that are grounded, when kids eventually grow up a little more and they hear about things, they're able to, figure it out on by
Yeah.
themselves and
Yeah.
have a good gauge of discernment, right?
Yes. That's the hope. That is the hope.
Yeah, no, but I love that you kind of I have this great friend who she was there my first year that I, homeschooled and she said,
Mhm.
it's like homeschooling is very challenging but if you feel called by God to do it, you'll have the strength to do it. If you're just
Mhm.
like if you don't, and because not everyone will. Not everyone
Yeah.
will do it and it's totally fine. I was public
Yeah.
schooled and I loved it. So, I had a great
Yeah.
experience. But I
I
really
know,
felt
same
the
here.
call, Yeah. Yeah. But I really felt the call and I feel like there is a special strength that comes with that he really just helps you and
Yeah.
you're doing it
I
for
know.
this for your children.
I have friends, that they're like how they like put you on this pedestal of you're this amazing mother. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm like just like everyone else. My kids are just home all the time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I have friends that it's like I couldn't be around this like particular child, not because I don't
Oh,
love them, but just because it wouldn't be like beneficial for our relationship. And it's like, well, then you don't need to homeschool, you know?
yeah.
Like, yeah, there's definitely like people that are called and should do it, and then other people that, that's not what they're supposed to do. And I'm like, neither is bad. You
No.
just making, conscious choices, which I think is like when we decided to do like a home birth and just different like kind of life choices that we made that I did not ever think that I would
Right.
make.
Yes.
And I've just like realized, oh, like neither is bad. You just have to actually make the choice. I think we live in a
Mm.
society where we just kind of like
Yeah.
do what we think we're supposed to do, but we don't actually like do any of the research or actually pray about it, or it's just like this is just what everyone does. So
Right. Right.
that's kind of what I thought, like, before actually like giving birth. And like I assumed like, oh, I'm gonna go to the hospital and get an epidural, and then my kids are gonna go to preschool, and then they're gonna go to school,
Yeah.
because that's what, yeah, I also went to public school and had a great experience. And but then when that was like not what was on my heart, and I'm like, oh, okay. But that doesn't mean that the other options are bad. But for
Yeah.
me and my family, this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, it's a beautiful journey and I love having that not permission. Um what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, okay. I'm just I'll say
Like
permission. Just
confirmation. I
kind
don't
of
know.
that giving yourself permission to do something
Yeah.
different once you're up against it. I think that was something that was so freeing about um doing a home birth and yeah, like not many were doing it. And
Mhm.
I actually didn't tell my mom we were doing a home birth. Somehow those 4 months after I told her, I somehow weaved it in like, oh, we have midwife, so wherever, wherever. And I just never told her because I knew she'd be nervous and she was. So it was,
Yeah.
but it's
Well, it's
because
because
there's
they love you. And so they're like,
yes.
I want you to be safe. And you're like, but this is actually really safe.
Yeah, no, it was, that whole thing of that first home birth, and
Yeah.
but there are these expectations, but like realize maybe it started with home birth. I don't know, because once I toured 3 elementary schools, like a French immersion, there's all these great choices, right? And
Yeah.
but I went to all of them and none of them felt right. And I was like, well, that's fine. I'm sure I'll pray about it and I'll know later. And what
Yeah.
came was actually called a homeschool, and I was like, whoa. And but that gave me permission to be like, and I've noticed it. It's like the next 5 year olds, like that's just what you do. And it's so freeing to be like, actually there's other choices and you can make and create whatever life you want. And it is so freeing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I love that. I agree. I think that with it was definitely home birth that like made me kind of look out of like, oh, I can, yeah, make the life that I want to make, and it doesn't have to look like everyone else's.
Yeah, it really is. It sounds so simple, but it's really not. Like it's actually like doing something outside of what the river is flowing you to do
Yeah,
is very, very it's amazing.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. I agree.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Well, I just want to switch really quick to um how you have yeah, so you have your own pure doula. No, pure love doula,
Mhm.
yes, services. And so Um, I'm wondering with that, because I mean, I've experienced you as an allomother for me, so which is just amazing. So I would just love to hear about how, and I know it's natural for you, so it's maybe hard to say, but how do you know people's needs that you're helping these women as a doula? So how, I guess, just say it. Like, how do you allomother? What is those tools that you use to be a good allomother?
I mean, I honestly like think that it is a gift from God. Like,
Yeah, I believe that.
and it's really interesting because I'm not like an overly like touchy-feely person or which is, but then like obviously when I'm in the birth space, I'm like constantly providing like physical support and like emotional
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
Um, and I like, especially since becoming a mother, like there are times that I felt like, oh, that I need to like hug this woman that's giving like that is laboring.
Oh,
And like I've even like I'm like I've like, given women like a kiss on their head, which is like not something that I would naturally do like to anyone. And then like I've had
wow.
women say like you have no idea like how much I needed that. And I'm like, so I really like I feel like God has given me this like gift to just know how to like support women. Um Also like something as a doula that I really strive to do is I know that birth can be such like a uniting and um like space for couples.
Yeah.
So I try to like, and also like a lot of men can feel really overwhelmed. Like in the, like I think women feel less overwhelmed in the birthing space than men do because men
Wow.
have this desire and drive to like protect the woman that they love and to make them feel like they need to be safe. Like they're doing like they're in like odd positions, they're making sounds I've never heard before, they're obviously uncomfortable.
Yeah.
um so I really strive to like help men feel like
Wow.
comfortable in the space so that they can provide, their wife, their partner with that like emotional, because I mean most women, it's like, yes, they turn to me occasionally, but they'll turn to like their partner, their
Right.
spouse.
Yeah.
So just making sure that they like know, you know, like this is normal. Like a lot of times men will just like look at me and I'm like, it's good.
Right.
And then just providing like the physical prompt for them to know, like, okay, I'm safe to touch her. And then we do like one of my prenatal visits is like the whole thing we do is like a birth practice where we do like the different common like positions that women get in birth. And I want like their partner to know, okay, if you're in this position, this is what I can do to like physically support you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then just say all the things that you already say, like if you're just tell her you love her, just tell her, and then there are some couples that are just really funny. So they say the funniest things. And I'm like, but that's just like who they are as a couple. And then there are other, like there are instances in births when like women are laboring and like I have to look away. Like it's so
Oh,
intimate to see them just be like loved that I'm like, I can't even look at it. Um, so I'm honored to be there, but I really try to make it because, like having kids is challenging to a marriage just because you're trying to navigate this whole like it's such a great blessing but just
yeah.
this challenge and like and what I want this time like your last times just the two of you to just be full of love and to really like help unite you as a couple, and that's something that I'm like really passionate about.
Wow. Oh, that is so cool. Like, yeah, I can say from personal experience that I mean, yeah, you were just there, right there with Michael and I think you really empowered him. And man, he came away from that and he's like, home births are it. Like, this is the crowning jewel of life. Like, he just
I
loved
know.
it.
I
And I was
tell people
like,
I think that
oh,
my husband's more proud of my home births than I am.
oh,
Like he's just like, and when I get home from births, he's like, like, how was it? Tell me,
oh,
like all the things, and like yeah, those like home births, and like I think just, and now that I've seen a lot of like natural births in the hospitals, just like
oh yeah.
natural births in general, just they change you. Like
Yeah.
I've walked away from births and I'm like, I'm a different person.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, well, you are just a blessing to your
Um,
community now, but the ones you were, in Utah for me and yeah, you just made it a very I don't know, very natural and yeah, uniting. That's a beautiful way to put it. It's yeah, birth can be uniting if you have the right allomothers swooping around you. So
I
oh,
was
that's
honored to
awesome.
be there. It was amazing. I remember driving up to your little apartment and being like, is this right?
Yep, right there.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, great memory. So, is there just anything else you had on your mind that you wanted to share as far as like tips for new moms or I don't know, anything that you just want to share as the at
I
the
mean,
end?
we have talked about this is something that I struggle with, like reaching out for support. Um, and it does just like take me longer to just trust people or like think
Yeah.
of people as being someone that I can reach out to, even though I, as a person, am like, I don't really know you, but reach out to me and I'd love to like support you, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and, but I mean, you like on your website, like we're not meant to do it alone.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know is something that I struggle with, but like I've times when I like do reach out to people, even if it's just, like my best friend that still lives in Utah that obviously we can't,
Oh, yeah.
like we used to like drop off and do babysitting swaps and stuff, and that's not something that we can do anymore.
Yeah.
But just like texting her like about my day and like, and our kids are pretty much the same ages, like right on, so they're like doing a lot of similar things. And so
Yeah.
just kind of the like, oh, we're in this together,
Yeah.
because it can feel really lonely. Like motherhood is like I'm surrounded by everyone and being touched by everyone, but I'm so alone.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be, like you can just find those women. And I know that like when I'm doing that and I'm reaching out to people and like listening to what I need, that not only am I blessed by it, but like my children are blessed by it because I'm not as frustrated. I get like, I just have that sense of community and support that you can only get from other women.
Yeah. Oh, that's there is so much there. But it's so true. I think yeah, once I've at times when I actually have asked someone in particular, whether it's like empty nester or like someone that doesn't have kids or isn't even married yet, like when I just
Mhm.
like finally ask them, they're just like, "Oh my goodness, yes." Like I love like if
Yeah.
we actually knew how many people were willing we it would be very surprised. We'd be like, "Oh, I guess I was feeling super alone." And actually there's like 10 people that I could call right now and if we really could
Yeah.
see.
Well, it's like it blesses your lives and it probably blesses their life to
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, people need me. Like I have value. And so yeah, it's not, because yeah, to me, it can sometimes be like, oh, I'm being selfish. Like I'm asking
Mhm.
for help for this very big, like something that, yeah, like if someone else, I'd be like, yes. But for whatever reason, it feels so little. And like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to be a burden to anyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, honestly, if that is like my thought about it, I'm like, what must that like do to like, just like my body and like my life and like my energy to be like, I'm a burden,
Wow.
like, so I need to like rewrite some of those like thought processes because like I know I'm not, but then but I obviously don't because I feel that way.
Right.
It's like I know that I should say I'm not a burden, but then I always feel like a burden. And like, what must that be doing like to my life?
Yeah. 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 I think that we as moms, like we really are, we have a ton of strength and grit to even do this. But yeah, I think it's once you realize that we all, if you can just give and take, that's normal. I'm trying to like
Yeah.
normalize it. Like we do need to give and take.
Yes.
And it's good to ask. And sometimes you can, yeah, I think it was right before COVID hit, basically a few months before, I kind of reconnected with a friend on Marco Polo. We live in different states. Man, and it's been a few years, but we've been just using Marco Polo, and like my life has changed because of like I don't know, we just share things that we're reading or what our kids are doing, and she's a lot like my oldest daughter, so I get these insights about my own children from just talking to
Yeah.
her. And it's just distance shouldn't we can yeah, we need to reach out and
Yeah.
keep that, even though there's distance, it can still, we have so many tools now, it's possible to keep
Yes,
going
it
and getting support.
is. It is.
So yeah. Well, thank you for everything you've shared. This has been so amazing to talk about birth and homeschooling, and I'm excited to share it. So thank you
Yeah,
so
it was so
much.
nice to chat with you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening in today. I hope that you got ideas of how to improve your overall well-being and life as a mother. If you have a friend who could use a lift, please share. See you next time.